you planning to go to the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival? Let me know in a comment below. I would like to meet you. I am not sure that anyone going watches my channel. So if you are, please find me. I'm gonna go to the Hill at 12:30 to meet some of my favorite podcasters. So I'll be cruising around there. If you see me, please say hello to me because I'd love to meet you. And I think I'm gonna bring some stitch markers to share because I have made in the past so many, and then I never gave them away because I was too awkward and didn't know what to do with my hands, you know? So anyway, I'm very excited for next weekend. I want to start packing because I like to feel ready to go. I always put a lot of thought into my skincare and my makeup and my hair care and my outfits, and it's just so much to process. I can't possibly do that the night before. I prefer, anytime I travel, I prefer to pack everything at least 2 days in advance so that I can kind of live out of my travel bags in terms of makeup and skincare to kind of practice the routine and make sure I have everything I need without leaving anything out. And that keeps me from forgetting what I feel that I want to have.
You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new here, my name's Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that's generally focused on knitting and spinning. I just looked over at some mohair and now it's stuck to my face. So there's that. It is 1 week till the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival, and I'm so excited. I am not completely ready. I still have to finish the project I'm excited to wear. But I am here now. I don't have my thoughts prepared, let's say that, but we're gonna go with it, and I'm gonna share with you the shawl I'm very excited to give you an update on. This is what I decided I'm going to call the Gnome King's Mountain. And you're gonna say, Taylor, what kind of name is that? And if you know, you know, and if you don't, you're gonna find out in a second. All right, let me just take this shawl off first. Actually, this is the only other asymmetrical triangle shaped shawl I've ever knit. So in a sense, it was my inspiration for this one because this is the only other one I have. But it's the Range Shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I knit this using 4 skeins as written of worsted weight yarn. And a lot of these skeins I picked up at one of them I know I picked up at Rhinebeck one year, and I'm just obsessed with it. I think I've shown you this shawl recently. again, because obviously I've shown it many times over the years. But this bright, gorgeous yellow is Sasari yarn. That is or was a mill out of Virginia. And then the two other colors, these kind of like weirdly variegated ones, are from Good Karma Farm. These were like second skeins that had some variegation to them that I think was less than ideal. I got them at a discount when I visited the mill a long time ago now. But this asymmetrical shawl, so squishy, so gorgeous. I wanted to share this with you all because I think it is a really good example of how you can turn those single skeins of worsted weight yarn into something gorgeous. I tend to just collect yellows and greens. I just love yellows and greens so much. I have found myself just picking them up here and there, and I put all these colors together and I decided I really loved how they look, and I'm obsessed with the shawl. It's one of my favorite shawls that I've ever knit. It's probably gotten the most wear out of all of them, and it's just so fun and bright and good. And so I wanted to share that with you, especially if you're going to a fiber festival and you're on a budget, but you have a lot of yarn. I would play with what you have and see what's maybe missing from like a gradient or, you know, some combination of colors that you want to work with, and shop for a single skein to fill the void of what you already own, and then throw it together. The range shawl is 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. So now that I'm knitting my second asymmetrical triangle, I wanted the front of this to have a little bit more definition to the edge. On both sides are the same, but on the back side it looks very unbordered. It's just right up to the edge of it, which I like because it's just like plain knitting on the back side for the most part. So it's kind of reversible. And the lace, I wouldn't describe the lace as reversible because it's not as eye-catching of a motif on the back side, but how I intend to wear this one, and it'll be a little bit different once I repeat the times, but I'll kind of throw it over the front here. So here she is. I stumbled across this knitting, this lace. Did I already tell you? I don't remember what I've shared and what I haven't yet. Knitting this with a handspun. It's a fin cross. I think it's a fin merino cross fiber, so it's very soft, but it has a good, like it's like a, it's a fine medium. It's a blend of like fine medium. It's not the softest of all my fibers, but it's not prickly. It's very next to skin, and it has this gorgeous subtle variegation that kind of resembles a stone, like I said before. And one of you suggested naming it the rock shawl. So I was thinking about rocks and how I wanted to kind of play on that theme, and immediately my mind went to the movie Return to Oz, where Dorothy is on a excursion with her friends, and they approach the Gnome King in the Gnome King's mountain. And if you're at all familiar with this film, you know it is the perfect film to watch in October, by the way. But it's kind of spooky, it's kind of scary. It's filled with so much beauty, both inside of the Gnome King's mountain, where he has all these ornaments that he collects and gorgeous antique furniture and things, just so much stuff, you know, hordes of stuff. Peak capitalism in the Gnome King's mountain. And anyway, I don't want to spoil the ending for you. I think it's a movie that you need to watch if you haven't already. Again, perfect October film. And also Fairuza Balk is who plays Dorothy in this movie. It's her first acting role as a child. And so if you don't know, she is like the main character in the movie The Craft. So it might be like a nice, again, October film. But anyway, the Gnome King's Mountain, I think is what I'm gonna call this, because I love The Wizard of Oz. I don't think you know how much I love the books, the films. I'm not like, you know, of course as a child I watched the original film. editing Taylor here. Judy Garland and I have the same birthday. I'm like a deep lore Oz person. I've read a lot of the books. I don't know if I've collected all of them. There's like more than 12, I think. I've read several of them. And I might read them again at this point because I feel like I could find more things to pull from and build into my knitting. But this kind of just reminded me how throughout the film there are rocks kind of throughout the land, and the Gnome King has his like minions, and they spy on Dorothy and her friends as they travel throughout the land. And if you're a chicken lover, if you love chickens, you got to watch this film. But anyway, they have these like eyes and mouths that just like appear out of the stone through claymation. And I always thought that was so cool. And you kind of feel for these people, these, I don't know what you call them, like entities of the Gnome King's kingdom, where like he, the Gnome King, is like a dictator, you know, and like he is very like mean towards them, and they're very reactive in their facial expressions, and like they're bad people, but they're just kind of like under the thumb of their ruler, and they don't really like, I think that they don't really have anywhere else to go. Like I think that they're, I don't know, I wonder what their story is. I don't know if they chose that dictator or if it's just pressed upon them. Kind of feel for them. Kind of like I feel for people who've been duped into voting for this president. Oh my God, how did we get here? Like, what is going on here? And like, I don't know if you, okay, we're going to talk about knitting in a second, but I just, you know, this is a channel where I generally talk about knitting and spinning. I always pepper in aspects of life. Most of you know that. A lot of you don't care. And I just want to say, I saw this, I don't know what it was. I was trying to find the direct source, like where was this recorded? It was Benjamin Netanyahu speaking to, I'm guessing reporters, you know, cameras in English to the American audience. And he was speaking very recently about how Iran is going to bomb the United States with a nuclear arsenal, and how it could hit New York or Mar-a-Lago. And he had this creepy smile on his face, like he would be excited for it to happen. And it reminds me of when he gave a statement on 9/11 in the year 2001 when the Twin Towers were hit, and he said it was a good thing for Israel. I'm not making this up. You can find that for yourself as a true fact. I cannot stop thinking that there could potentially be a false flag operation to push the United States into war with Iran, and that scares the crap out of me because they don't deserve that. We deserve better. This is insane. What is happening to humanity? Why is Netanyahu not arrested? He is a war criminal and he should be locked up. And the world needs to be protected by this man because he's evil. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not going to be arrested for saying that a foreign dictator is a freak and should go away. Truly. Like, that's what I believe. So, and I think as of this date, I'm allowed to say that. So I just said it. And we're going to go back to knitting now. Sorry about that. I just feel like people need to pay attention. I believe we all need to pay attention to what's happening because it, you know what they say, like, if you don't deal with politics, politics will deal with you, or something to that effect. Anyway, back to what I can control with my hands and my mind. I am very excited to continue knitting this lace shawl. The instructions are mostly written, but of course I need to do the math to estimate the yardage, not just the yardage I used in my version of this, but the yardage one would need to knit their own version with a commercial yarn. So it's going to take me some time to do that. I don't expect I'm going to have that ready, but I do want to put this in testing soon. So I might start a forum that I will link to below if you're interested in testing this pattern. That way, if you are interested, I mean, I can tell you I used 3 skeins of my own yarn, but I don't expect you would need 4 skeins of yarn. I just don't know if it's 4 skeins of sport or fingering. It could be either. So I would like to know before I like, you know, promise you have what you need for the design. But maybe you're knitting your handspun and you know that you're going to just make it work. Maybe you want to get started sooner than later. I'd be happy to share what I've got drafted, but I don't want to rush the process either. I just want to throw that out there. If you're interested in test knitting this pattern, I have to finish knitting it first. I hope to have more projects on my needles. You know, there's so many. I'm going to see if I can wear this the rest of the video because I'm getting a little chilly, but not enough that I want to put my cardigan back on. There is a yarn that I think I might finally buy. I've seen it at the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival almost every time that I've gone, and I've touched it and I felt it and I thought, I really want this, but I see the price and I always say no. And it wasn't until I frogged a pattern that I had purchased and was knitting, and I just did not like the lofty woolen spun quality of the yarn paired with the garment that is knit with a lot of drape. The yarn, the pattern, let me go back and show you the pattern. I'm talking about Natasja Hornby's, I think this is pronounced Daisy. I don't know how you say this pattern. I've never heard anyone say the name of this out loud, so I don't know what it is, but I'll link to it below so you can find it. But she knit this with a merino linen yarn, fingering weight, and I think that Bare Naked Wool's Better Breakfast Fingering could be a really great pairing for this pattern. And they make it in this color called Poppy Seed that I think would be just the perfect charcoal gray to knit something very similar to the original design. I don't know if I want to pick up a matching skein in the natural Sugar Frost color. They're all natural shades, by the way. I don't think that any of them are dyed. I think that's the whole brand, that nothing is dyed. But they're all different blends of natural colors. This yarn base comes in many colors, 11 shades of natural colors, which is just so pretty. And so I just would really love to buy 3 skeins of this. And then I could potentially pair it with like a little bit of my handspun yarn. I'm sure that I could make that work easily. So that's sort of my plan, is I want to make use of a pattern that I've already purchased. In my mind, that means that I'm saving $6 to $8 right there by not having to buy another new pattern. And so I can kind of allow myself to pick up expensive yarn that I've thought about for years. The thing about these fiber festivals for me personally is because I am a hand spinner and I love to process raw wool, I generally don't buy finished yarn. I'm always shopping for fleeces, and I haven't touched the fleece I bought last year. I've scoured it, but I've not combed it or spun it, and I have so much fleece. I don't know if I'll buy one. I think I still might. We'll see what there is to purchase. But if I'm gonna buy yarn, I would very much like to buy this yarn. And at $43 a skein, times 3 skeins, I'm looking at $129 before tax. That's $136. Let me put that in here. I'll stick a little formula to add sales tax. That is at least half my budget. There's one other yarn company that I've seen many people knit with, and I love the idea of knitting with this, but they have 2 bases of yarn, and I don't know which of the 2 I would rather work with. They both seem lovely and they both come in multiple weights. I'm talking about North Bay Fibers, Heritage, and Elemental. Now the Heritage fingering weight yarn. The Heritage fingering is a non-superwash Targhee Polypay. So it is known for consistent quality fleece, fine wool heritage evident in their wool. Yarn is soft and fine, but also durable. Makes an excellent choice for everyday garments and accessories. The fingering weight is 268 yards per 50 grams. It's sourced in Michigan, spun in Wisconsin, and hand dyed also in Michigan, which I think is really cool. I think as an American, I should try to purchase as much domestically produced yarn as possible to minimize the carbon footprint of my consumption. I'm going to add this to my spreadsheet. So that could be a sweater under $100, which would be preferred. Let me look at their other base though. I keep checking out fingering weight, but maybe I should give Sport a chance. Let's see, the Elemental Sport. This is Cormo. It also looks like these shades might have some variegation to them. I prefer my yarn to be super solid, so I don't know if this is the yarn for me, but it's $34 per skein, sourced in Wyoming, spun in Pennsylvania, and hand dyed in Michigan. These yarns might be great substitutions for this pattern because it does come in fingering and sport. I don't know if I would rather buy the elemental fingering or the heritage. If you've knit with either of these bases from North Bay Fiber, I would love to know what your experience is. Is there one you prefer more than the other? Let me know in a comment below, please, 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 because I need to crowdsource this data. I watch a lot of podcasts. Maybe I need to search for the yarn on YouTube to see if anyone's ever talked about this already. I'm really glad I'm building this spreadsheet because everything is a little different. So far, not one of the 3 skeins I'm thinking about is sold in the same quantity of grams. 465 yards. That seems like a lot. But they also say to buy more because it's very springy. I wonder how accurate 465 yards is. I'm wondering if it's actually less. Maybe they measured it under tension or something because it just feels like a really fine fingering. I don't know. I'm very excited to see and touch and consider purchasing from North Bay Fiber. I wonder, again, if you've knit with any of these bases. I need to work on what I have before I think about buying too much, but I want to take the opportunity to shop around while I have the chance, and I would like to know in advance how much I'm considering spending so that if I do want to get that sweater quantity, I feel good about doing it and I don't regret it. So that's what I hope to buy. I think there, and I always forget to go to this section of the festival before I'm like tired and ready to leave. But there is like a foodie venue, like where there's all kinds of vendors with all kinds of foodstuffs, like jams and jellies and liquors and wines and all kinds of foodstuffs. And there's always a vendor that has handcrafted wooden utensils and cutting boards, and I think I want to buy a new wooden spoon, a nice artisanal luxury kitchen thing to use all the time and think about our trip. I feel like I'll get more use out of that than more yarn, so that's something I'm thinking about picking up. It's like by the time we always get to that booth, we've already kind of spent more than we, I don't want to say wanted to, but we've spent enough, and buying a luxury spoon feels like unnecessary. But I think I might want to go into this year planning to buy a spoon. So there's that. And I'm very excited. I need to pack because what's going to happen is I'm going to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably longer days than I'm used to because I have a lot to do right now at my full-time job, and I'm taking off Friday so that Brian and I can drive up from Baltimore to a town about an hour south of Rhinebeck. And I'm staying with my friend Blair, who I know since high school. She has a family and she lives in the Hudson Valley, and it's so nice to spend time there with her and see her again. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And we like to go visit the town of Beacon, New York. It's not far from where my friend lives, and it's about a half hour, I think, which I think in that area, a half hour is like the typical distance you travel for most things, if I were to guess. But there is my favorite gluten-free bakery in the town of Beacon named Kitchen and Coffee. So if you're on your way if you're driving north towards Rhinebeck and you see Beacon is near you on the map, I highly recommend making a pit stop for some goodies. It's also a beautiful town with a lot of great shopping. So our goal is to get on the road bright and early, and I think it's going to take about 6 or 7 hours to get to Beacon and spend the day there and maybe have a lunch or dinner or something. I don't know what the timing is. I haven't thought it through yet. But that's our plan, is to go to Beacon. We, one year we stayed in Beacon when I think Blair had a conflicting schedule. And so we got a mother-in-law suite at a really good price, Rhinebeck weekend. And it was really great for us to have to drive an hour less on the way up and then rest and relax the night before, do the town as much as we wanted, and then just travel 1 hour to the festival. Thinking about going to the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival in future years, and you want a little tip, I truly recommend staying at least an hour's distance from the towns of Rhinebeck or Kingston. The prices are inflated so much for that weekend, and it's so hard to find a space available that you want to stay at. One time we stayed in, I think it might have been Poughkeepsie. We stayed in a motel in Poughkeepsie. We paid way more than we should have for that. We stayed in a bedroom a couple times in random people's houses that just felt super weird. One of the times their son was a smoker, so I just didn't anticipate that. Bringing all of my knitwear into a smoker's house was not my ideal plan for that weekend, so I was not thrilled, but the people were very kind. And I was glad to have a place to stay. Obviously, staying with a friend is a huge privilege, and I love to do that because it makes my budget that much bigger. But having a mother-in-law suite, which is just like a little room, with a private bathroom and not much else, but still separate from the house, is like the perfect scenario for me and Brian. We come in, we go, and it's just, it's a short drive. So if we're driving there anyway, so, that's one of the reasons why we make this trip a little short. I don't make it a huge long weekend because I don't want to be too great of a burden on my friend Blair staying more than 2 nights already. And also, it's just, I haven't ever thought about signing up for classes. I think I should in the future attend a class. I don't want to leave Brian out, and I don't want to pay double for him to participate in something he's not that interested in. So I never thought about doing the class or workshop route before, but anyway, we're going on Saturday, and on Sunday we're going home, but I think we're making a pit stop for Jill Draper's open studio. It's at a park location, like a public space, which I think will be really nice just to do. Even if there weren't an event there, it would be nice to go to a park and like relax a little bit, maybe pack some food or something, from the road. But it's a little out of the way from home, which is why we didn't do it before. But I've always regretted not going because I very much enjoy Jill Draper's work, and I want to see the people there, and I want to do the outside of Rhinebeck thing. There's so many events around Rhinebeck that I don't participate in because I just don't have the time or the, ability. Really quick, I'm going to refresh you all on my works in progress so I can take a little inventory of what I've got going on. Obviously, I want to finish my handspun shawl ASAP. I then want to pick up and begin knitting again on my Chained Oblivion. This is a gorgeous pattern. I highly recommend. Obviously, I haven't finished it yet to know how well it fits, but I know that my local yarn is going to wear like iron. It is such a workhorse yarn. I also have my henwife shawl, which I'm taking very slow. I feel like this is going to be in the background of my life for a little while because it's such a comforting knit. You knit the lace panel for only 1/3 of the right side row, and the other 2 sections are garter, so it's just a lot of knitting, which means that it's a really nice and easy lace project. But it is still lace, and there are multiple little charts to follow to stay in pattern, which is both, I think it's really nice that she broke up the chart into various, like I think there's charts A, B, C, and D. But sometimes I forget, like, am I on this chart or that chart? So I really rely on the knitting, I think it's called Knit Companion app on my phone, so I can mark like where I'm at on the chart and I don't lose track of where I left off. So that makes picking up and putting this down really, really simple. I have 3 full skeins still uncaked to knit, so I'm not even halfway done with this, like not even close. So I have a lot to do with this project, and I love to coordinate my yarn with my project bag. Like this is like kind of like a warm neutral, and this is like a very gray, and then in this project bag, my shawl's not big enough to stay where I want it. In this camel color bag, which is one of my favorites, I used to have a Rhinebeck pin that I lost on a hike. I don't know which year it was, but it was the year where the sheep's face was like a yin yang. It was my favorite. And so I purchased on the New York State Sheep and Wool website some swag for pickup at the milk parlor, which I don't know if you know this, but you can buy merch in advance and just go grab it. And there's like never a line. You're not waiting in this ridiculous queue just to look at everything. You can look at it online, you can place your order in advance, and you can pick it up like it's a dream. So I bought 2 enamel pins, one for this bag to replace my other one, and the other I think is a backup because I never want to lose it again. I really liked the image for this year. So I also bought a few stickers and a little like flower bag. I don't know what you call it, like a little sack, you know, little tiny project bag that's not so structured. It's more like basic cotton drawstring. So I got, I think the large or the medium, I forget. It was like 13 bucks. So I went and got that because I thought that might be a nice little souvenir to have. So this will be empty and ready for a new project. I have over here my other favorite project bags. These ones are the easiest for me to use while walking my dog. I just put them over my wrist and I knit from my bag. According to my notes, I spun an entire Jacob Lamb fleece. And I think that I'm wrong. I think that this is something else, but I have to do an inventory check. And for the longest time, I would store the fleece information in a separate area from the actual fleece, and I'm starting to forget what is what, which I'm never going to do again. Maybe once the fleece is spun, I'll move it into a storage little container like I have now, but I wrote that this is a Jacob fleece, and I feel like I still have the dark color Jacob to be spun. So I need to check out my inventory and double check myself, but I wrote Jacob Lamb on this. So theoretically, and this could very well be the dark section of the Jacob. I just question it because this mix of the two looks so cool tone, and yet this is so warm leaning. I don't know what to think. But anyway, I bought the Jaunty shawl pattern by Andrea Mowry while it was still on sale because I love a sale, and I'm gonna knit this handspun into a little shawl to wear throughout the fall and winter. So I also want to cast that on. I think it might be a good travel project for the weekend. I think I could probably challenge myself to knit with my handspun on the road if I want to cast on a new project before we leave town. So that might be on the horizon sooner than later. And then I'm starting to question if these 2 projects should be or these 2 spinning projects, which are slightly different weights of yarn. This is a little heavier than this. I was hoping to get a couple tank tops out of them, but I'm so afraid of running out of yardage. I'm thinking maybe I could make these into a sweater or a shawl. So I don't know if you have any ideas of what I could knit. This is 111 plus 104, so I have 215 grams and about 575 yards of this. So that's really not enough to knit a t-shirt, maybe a tank top. I have 200 grams and 660 yards of this. So this might be enough to make a tank top or t-shirt, but I could also run out, and that would just really be sad. I do want to cast this on eventually. I just don't know what. I think I might wait till next year for it to speak to me. I think that they might need to be knit together, maybe into like a really nice sweater or shawl or something gorgeous. It might be nice to do a little color work action here. But of course I need to cake them up and swatch, and I love looking at my handspun in its skein form. I always never really want to cake it up until I have to. So I'm just gonna sit on that, and then when the time is right, I'll know what to do with it. But that's it for now. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me over on TikTok as Taylor Knits. I want to thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. If you're not already subscribed and you made it to the end of this video, ask yourself why, and let me know in a comment below that you made it this far with the sheep emoji, because we have that Sheep and Wool Festival to look forward to one way or another. And that's it for this week's episode. Again, I want to thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and you take care.